Hi guys, and welcome yet again to another review. This time I've got for you the XSL X8 dual dynamic driver earphone. This one over here. This is actually a shell which is very reminiscent of the KZ ZS6 and more recently of the Tin Hi-Fi C2. It's an all metal shell, very nice build quality actually. And in this particular implementation, they've actually used two dynamic drivers, a 10 and a 6. So what basically XSL is doing is entering this dual DD war. However, if they tick the right boxes in terms of the actual IM itself, if they've also ticked the right boxes in terms of actually, you being able to get it with a 4.4 millimeter balanced cable, and it brings plenty of tips. I mean, tips are plentiful. They didn't really tick the box 100% when it comes to sound, and it's got a very peculiar, let's put it that way, sound signature. The bass is very prominent, it's very thick. Overly so because of the fact that then the mids are not capable to keep up. The upper mids are not capable to keep up with it. And then it's got this kind of weird way of doing the pin again. Peaks at around 4 and then just drops off like a cliff. So there's a big void there between 4 and let's say 7, 8K. And it just sounds... it sounds like you are listening to an IM at halfway down a tunnel. Let's put it that way. Okay, it's got an unusual sound reproduction. Personally, I don't. It's not my cup of tea, and I'm sure many will agree. But I'm also positive that there will be people that will think it actually sounds good. Anyway, I've got here to give a quick comparison of the X8 with the BGVP scale, which is also a dual DD, and this one also suffered from a lackluster tuning, and in stock format it was in my opinion just a total disappointment. So $20 wasn't expensive, but the way it was tuned was mid-bass focused. Honestly, it was just very messy. I ended up retuning this, and it now has a sound which is more reminiscent of a KZ EDA balanced, if you guys are acquainted with that one. And now as it is here with that retune that I did, it actually sounds nice. As I said, it sounds like a KZ EDA balanced, which means that just one single driver would probably have done the job, but it's fine. It plays now sufficiently well for me to actually actually get it out and listen to it once in a while, just for the sake of comparisons and so on and so forth. The other one that I have here, which is in fact well tuned, it's just plagued by or was initially plagued by some quality control issues, is the MT4. This is the basis basically for the TA3 and the TA4, 10mm beryllium coated driver and a 6mm PET in this case. On the other ones it's titanium. And if you have a good one, and I'm positive, or I want to believe that they've corrected the issue that was being experienced with the glue covering up the duct, or partially covering up the duct between the two drivers. It actually does sound good, very engaging, very fun. It's got a nice, engaging, fun sound. Okay, it might not be no technical beast, but it's got a nice, fun, engaging sound, which is very satisfying. Okay. And then on this far corner here, I've got the Chronicle Zero, the original one, not the red. I've actually got the red as well, but I thought that this would be more than enough to compare the X8 with. And this is, this has got that sound that we already know. Very nicely executed bass, although it kind of goes tucks itself in well, not relatively early, but it tucked itself in, making some of the mid-bass energy perhaps wanted in some songs to be a little bit more subdued. But it's got a decently engaging sound as well. Its main flaw was perhaps an overly energetic upper mid area, but overall it's a nice sounding IM that was, at least in my case, I was unfortunate, plagued by some quality control issues. The first two sets that I got were a total mess. I managed to fix one of them up to have one working set. I then ended up buying a third set, and only on the third set did I get a set that was actually sounding decent. So yeah, I've got this here because it actually is a good set when it sounds well. It kind of falls in the same category as the MT4. All right, obviously, of course, different prices. The scale is $20. The MT4 is roughly $20 as well. This is $50 now, down a little bit, 46 more or less. And the X8 is around $35 to $40. And yeah, like I was saying, it's got this very prominent bass, more so than in the XSL 1, which was the initial IM that kind of brought XSL some attention, because it was using a similar or the same driver as the very famous MIM Dark Magician. It was just tuned in a different manner, and that IM actually does sound really nice. It's a darker sounding signature, but it does sound nice, and I reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, and I actually thought it was an engaging IM. Obviously the price is the issue. Anywhere between $50 and $60, depending if you get it from with discounts or don't get any discounts, coupons or anything. It made it a hard one to perhaps justify to a greater crowd of people. And now they've then subsequently launched the Zero, which I will be reviewing. The Zero, yes, the Zero is a more, let's say, more satisfying IM in terms of sound for a greater scale of people. And then they launched as well the X8 and the X9. The X9 I just reviewed recently. It's a 1+1. I think the X9 also kind of fell victim to maybe the tuning not have been as R&D'd as it should have been. It was kind of a slapping together of parts and hoping for the best. And this one, I've got two sets because I'm actually retuning the one. I've already started retuning it. And this X8 has got a lot of potential, a lot of true potential. I mean, like I said, I've just started retuning it, and with the retuning that I've done, it already has improved dramatically. And it's just a pity that they just didn't think like I am thinking and made it 100% from the get-go, because I'm sure that, like I said in the beginning, many will agree with me that this does have a sound which is very niche. And although there will be people that will like it, the majority, I think, will just pass. And when you consider the price that it's at and what you have available at the price, which plays substantially better, it's really a hard one to justify. And it's a pity, because I actually have to admit that I am enjoying the brand. I like their boldness. I like their guts to come out with stuff which, although it has been done, they're giving it their own little take. It just needs a little bit more attention to the tuning department, and I'm sure that they will start scoring some good sales. Anyway, guys, I'll show you the graphs next, and we'll wrap it up after that. All right, you take care now. Bye bye. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the XSL X8. Let me just quickly show you here then the graphs, so we can understand what's going on. I'm going to actually start by showing you the graph of some of the other IMs, namely this is the graph of the BGVP scale, the stock graph of the BGVP scale. I mean, it's way too much mid-bass that just messed up the whole sound across the rest of the frequency, which is a pity, because it wasn't that it was bad, it was just too emphasized on the mid bass, and just basically down to a product of not enough care having been taken in terms of wanting to tune it. So I retuned it, which this is my version. brought down that mid bass, kind of tried and control that a little bit more, to also control that area over there. Yes, I lost some extension past, but much better. And this is with the foam tip, and this is with the silicone tip, which is actually how I ended up preferring listening to it. Okay, so let me just align it there. So okay, so that's there. So the scale retuned, and you know, pay attention to the red line, is a much nicer sounding IM than the stock one. And as I mentioned in the review, this kind of has a sound which is reminiscent of the KZ EDA balanced, which I will now show you. KZ EDA balanced, where are we? Here we go. This has very much this type of sound. Although you might think, but there's differences. Yeah, no, it does, because first of all, the dip that occurs here at around 5K actually works in its favor, because not that the EDA balance was in any way, in my opinion, sibilant or anything of the sort, but it actually helps it out in this way. And this area here of 7, 8, 9, which seems very prominent, is not as noticeable. The bass curve is exactly the same as the EDA. It's not the difference here, but as well between 1 and 3K that's noticeable between one or the scale. They sound very similar, and the truth is the scale with this retune is a much nicer IM. Anyway, this is enough of the scale. All right, I'm actually just going to keep that graph of the scale. Take this one away. All right, now the next one I'm going to show you is obviously the reason for this review, which is the XSL X8. This is the stock graph of the X8. Huge bass, way too much bass, and then it's got this kind of weirdish type of it's not really the way that the pin again is done here, although it's got that little bump there. You don't really notice it. It's just that dip there, the marrying of, you know, this together with the fact you got too much mid bass emphasis. It just makes for an overly dark sound, which isn't exactly the most engaging. So as I mentioned, I've been retuning it, and my initial results with the retune are these. Let me just align it here at 1, and much improved. I've been able to lower the mid bass, increase a little bit more the area here between 2 and 3.5K, and maintain basically the second driver untouched, and completely different sound. Just the fact that the mid bass was brought down, it opened up the mids in a totally different manner, and it now sounds way more engaging. This is, in my opinion, how the X8 should have at least come out. If the X8 had come out like this, I think it would be way better in terms of its sales. The other IM that I compared it to was the MT4, which is this one here. Let me just... And the MT4, again, like I said, and I've said many times, its only issue was initially it was plagued by some problems with regards to quality control. But if you now look at the MT4 compared to my X8, there's a much more, approximation in terms of at least this area is much more similar. And now I feel that if I can just lower the bass a little bit more, I will get a sound which will be now more along the lines of what the MT4 offers, because the MT4 does play well. I mean, the MT4, you can't really fault it. I mean, the minimum and maximum values, everything stays within. So we're talking 66, 76, so 10 dBs. The bass corresponds to the peak of the mids, upper mids transition point. It actually sounds pretty engaging. The MT4 sounds pretty engaging. Not the most technical, although you would think with this kind of graph showing that it's got a lot of holographic presentation. Not really. It doesn't have that 3D like you would think that this sometimes is an indicator of. Anyway, that's the MT4 stock. A good one, let's put it that way. This is my retuned X8, which I think is what it should have been. Okay, the BGVP retuned is, where is it now? My apologies. The BGVP retuned is where are we? Here we go, number 13. Let me just align it as well. The BGVP retuned with the silicone tip. Kind of also very similar to the MT4 in terms of the bass and so on. Just not as well executed or not as energetic in the mids, but this is the retuned version, much more pleasurable to listen to. And finally, the Truth is Zero, which I've also included here just for the sake of let's say, showing a very well tuned, more budget centered, the dual DD. Now let me just, there we go. So that's, let me just take away the other one so you can just look at the zero first. Okay, this is the zero, or this is the graph of the zero that I have. It's got that very quick bass tuck, which makes it like more of a subwoofer than anything, and then the rest of the frequency range mainly handled by the smaller driver, done in a nice way. I mean, there were people that complained about the upper treble and mid and highs being a little bit aggressive. By looking at the graph, you don't get that perception. That's the reality. But I think you notice this area maybe sounding a little bit aggressive or a little bit harsh or unpolished. First of all, I would say maybe because the driver choice isn't the best. Maybe the driver quality could have been better, and then that wouldn't become an issue. But also because you don't have that little bit of mid bass that usually helps counteract some issues that can happen there in terms of harmonics. It makes it, because looking at it like that, it actually does look pretty nice. I mean, it looks really good. Just for the sake of comparison to what I'm saying, let me just show you here. This is the Tanstrom Cara, okay? This is the Tanstrom Cara, and you can see that the similarities are quite uncanny. However, you listen to the Cara and you listen to the Zero, and there's a big difference in terms of sound. Big difference. The Cara sounds way more polished, way more. Just a better execution, and I think one of the things that justifies or is the reason for that is that the Cara does have a little bit more mid bass, which I think then can counteract any sort of harshness that could perhaps appear here in this area due to harmonics. The fact that between 100 and 300 hertz there's that extra bit of energy there does definitely help. Anyway, guys, like I said in my review, it's a real pity that XSL didn't just pay a little bit more attention to this tuning that they initially did on the X8, because the potential is definitely there. It's got a nice shell, it's got decent accessories, everything is good. The price is not bad. I mean, $35-40 is not a bad price. Just wish they had paid attention to the tuning and at least had done this to it, and it would have been way better. All right, anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, you take care now. Bye bye.